Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother in Al-Islam and your brother in humanity, Brother Charles Shabazz. And this is another message for the Muslim parents. The last video I made was to call on the parents to stop haraming our children, to stop halawing our children. This is mainly for parents. Excuse me. Have to speak. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That was good. Okay. Back to what I was about to say. This is also a message to Muslim parents who have children who are of marriage age, or age where they're seriously considering getting married or having a nikah, a marriage in Islam. As far as how you should choose a spouse for your child, ultimately it is up to your son or your daughter of who they want to marry and should marry or want to marry. It's totally up to them because that is their life. As far as you as a parent telling your children who they should marry and who they should not marry, that's a whole different thing. It depends on what you're talking about here. So for your son, right? If you have a son that's of marriage age, first of all, the biggest thing you should encourage your son to look for is a good, righteous Muslim woman. That's what you should encourage your son to look at. Do not ever encourage your son or your daughter or your children, period, to focus, to make sure that the potential spouse is of a particular color, skin complexion, or nationality. For example, if you are a Pakistani, right? You have children. Stop telling your kids to make sure that their spouse is a Pakistani, that for your son, that their wife is a Pakistani, or for their daughter, their husband's a Pakistani. Stop it. Because that has no relevance in Al-Islam. Race or skin color, ethnicity has no relevance in Islam. It does have a particular role, sure, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us into nations and tribes so that we would get to know one another and not despise one another. Now, if it's up to, now, for you as an individual, if you choose to marry someone within your own ethnic community, that's cool because that's you. But don't make that choice for the child. The only thing you should make a choice of for your child, and particularly for your daughters, is to make sure that their husbands are Muslim, regardless of where they're from, what race or what background they are. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "There's no superiority of the Arab or the non-Arab, the white or the black. It is who's the most pious. It is one's piety that makes one superior over another." So that's how you should be judging a spouse for your child. So quit this nationalistic crap that you guys do. I'm so sick and tired of, you hear potential married couples. Like, for example, the husband, the brother who happens to be African American, he's engaged to a sister who she might be from like India, Saudi, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, and their parents and the girl's parents throw their fists in the air and get all mad and upset because they're engaged. Because their daughter's engaged to a Muslim brother who is not from their nation or from their nationality. Now, you should only be upset if your daughter is engaged to a man who is not Muslim, regardless of where they're from. If that man has not said La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, yeah, you should be upset with that. You should interfere with your daughter. Look, if you're gonna marry him, we not gonna support that. Because it is up to her who she wants to marry, but she should know that it's haram for her to marry a non-Muslim. In other words, he needs to take shahada, the potential husband, the future husband or the fiance. He needs to say Ashhadu la ilaha illallah Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah. Now, if he says Ashhadu la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, he's all right. If he's a good man, if he's a good guy, knows how to treat a woman and those type of things, and he takes shahada, whatever, he's all right. Now for the son, it's a little different, right? Now, in Islam, under Sharia, now it's legal for the son to marry a woman, a non-Muslim woman, but it's not any non-Muslim woman, right? It has to be a woman of the book. The Nisa Katab. She, first of all, she doesn't necessarily have to be Muslim, but she has to believe in the concept of Tawheed. She has to believe in the oneness of Allah, right? That Allah has no partners. Whether she's Jew or Christian. Now, some will say, well, what about the woman that believes in the Trinity? That's a matter of debate among scholars. But I will say this, for me, before I got married, right? I have courted, since being a Muslim, I have courted and talked to women who were non-Muslim, who were Christian particularly. And it didn't really, it didn't really go far, I should say, because, the girl, she likes to still eat swine. She still likes to, when she prays, she calls out on Isa alayhi salam. I don't tolerate that, man. Like, especially if she was a Christian and did not believe in the Trinity, that's one thing, right? But it says, like, in the Quran, the believing man for the believing women. So to be a believer, if a man's gonna marry a woman who may not be Muslim, she has to believe in the oneness of God. Only that that this guy has no partners, and so, like, sometimes it's better to marry a Jewish woman than to marry a Trinitarian woman, because at least a Jewish woman doesn't believe in a Trinity. She doesn't believe in setting partners, right? But the best woman for a man is a Muslim woman. Now, but on the other hand, but on But you should be concerned only with, as parents, we should be concerned only with the religious aspect of our children, right? But at the same time, still allow your child to make a decision on who they want to be with and who they want to marry, because they're adults. You know, when it comes to the Yama Kiyama, the Day of Judgment, you know, you cannot intercede on their behalf as a parent. Your children are on their own, because they're gonna be judged just like you're gonna be on your own, being judged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can't intercede with them. Everybody's on their own, right? So you still have to let them make their decision, but still give them the best advice that you can. But one thing that you should never do with your children is to never prevent your child from wanting to pursue someone who is Muslim, but you don't want your child to marry that person because they're of a different ethnicity. If you are really a Muslim, you need to destroy that. You need to destroy that biasness, that prejudice that you have in your mind, because that is unbecoming of a Muslim. That is against Islam. And you're not a real Muslim for doing that. You're not. You're a munafiq. You're a hypocrite for being prejudiced because you don't want your child to marry someone who is of a different culture, nationality, right? Even if that person is a far better Muslim than that individual you want your child to marry. You need to put an end to that. Astaghfirullah. You know, are you really a Muslim or are you a Muslim Hindu? Which is it? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up below and subscribe to my channel. Assalamu alaikum. Peace to everyone else.